The following video contains material that may be harmful, traumatizing, or disturbing to some audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. On the 19th of February 2008, 9-year-old Shannon Matthews disappeared. She had last been seen outside her school in West Yorkshire. Fearing she had been kidnapped, the West Yorkshire police launched an extensive search for young Shannon. 24 days later, this case would reach its conclusion. It turned out the monster responsible happened to be much closer to home than anyone could have expected. Shannon Louise Matthews was born on September 9, 1998, to mother Karen and father Leon Rose. Some reports suggest that though Leon was Shannon's biological father, she thought of her mother's partner Craig Meehan as her dad. Leon and Karen split when Shannon was 2 years old. Karen and Craig began dating 3 years prior, when she was just 19 years old. Craig was 34 at the time. Shannon was last seen at 3:10 in the afternoon on the 19th of February 2008. The day had started out as usual with Shannon attending Westmoor Junior School in Dewsbury Moor, before heading off for a swimming lesson at the Dewsbury Sports Centre. After finishing the lesson, Shannon hopped back onto the bus to school with her best friend at the time, Megan Aldridge. Megan would later recall that something felt off that day. Speaking in a Channel 5 documentary, Megan explained, "Once we got off the coach, something didn't seem right. Because her mum told her brother was picking her up that day after school, but he never showed up. Because normally if, she sends one of the kids to pick Shannon up from school, they'd be waiting outside the gates before we even got there, but there was no one there." Something happened to Shannon after this, as she hadn't made it home by that evening. This is when Karen called the police to report her daughter missing. It was completely out of character for Shannon to not be home on time, and she had never run away before. When a young child goes missing, time is of the essence, and the West Yorkshire police launched their search for Shannon immediately. Reports were put out for the 9-year-old, describing her as around 4 foot 1 inches tall, with a slim build and shoulder-length brown hair. Within a day, over 200 officers had been tasked with assisting the search for Shannon, and once a few hours had passed with no sign of her, it was classed as a major missing person police operation. The first thing that authorities focused on was tracing Shannon's last steps. They needed to find out where she was last seen and any useful information from those around her that could help find her as quickly as possible. This is when they would find that she had last been seen shortly after 3 p.m. outside her school. While speaking to one of Shannon's friends, authorities also found out that instead of walking home with a group of girls that she often joins on the 10-minute route home, Shannon walked off in the complete opposite direction. She had either not told the girls why, or they hadn't asked. She was last seen in her black school jumper and white cotton t-shirt with black trousers and a black coat that had fur around the hood. As news of her disappearance broke, locals were asked to keep a lookout for anyone that matched that description. As morning broke on February the 20th, Karen made a tearful plea to the media for her daughter's return home.
And if you're out there, please darling, come home. We love you so much. Me and your dad, your brothers, your sisters, everybody loves you. Your dad's missing you so much, Shannon. He's even out looking for you. Please come home, Shannon. If you're out there, come home. If anybody's got my daughter, my beautiful princess daughter, please bring her home safe. I need her home.
Karen continued by describing her young daughter as a caring and loving girl, adding that she couldn't have wished for a better child. Someone's child going missing is something that no parent would wish on another, and the people of Dewsbury rushed to help in the search, regardless of the poor weather conditions. While locals and officers searched the local area, investigators began to conduct door-to-door inquiries. A few days into the search, Detective Superintendent Andy Brennan came forward with the information of a reported sighting of Shannon the day following her disappearance, at roughly 9:15 a.m. on a road near her home. The detective superintendent announced that they would be following up on this lead, along with another sighting of Shannon sometime between 6:30 p.m. and 7:30 p.m. on the evening of her disappearance. Unfortunately, there were no CCTV cameras in the area that could corroborate these sightings. In fact, there was no CCTV evidence at all. This was a major hindrance to the investigation, but they continued to push on, and an important place to look for potential leads was Shannon's home. This wasn't due to any suspicions of her family. Searching a missing child's home, and specifically their room, is common practice in these cases. While searching Shannon's room, a small scribble was found on her wall that indicated she wanted to live with her father, Leon, rather than her mother's home, with her host of half-siblings. When speaking to Shannon's friends, investigators found that she had also confided in them about wanting to run away from home. Leon addressed his daughter in a statement, saying, "If you can hear me, if you can get to the nearest phone box and ring 999, and then tell them your name, then they'll be able to come and pick you up." Throughout all of this, Karen made sure she was in the public eye as much as possible to push for her daughter's safe return. She did interviews with multiple news channels where she explained how Shannon's disappearance had torn her family apart. During one of these appearances, Karen even suggested that someone known to her kidnapped Shannon to spite her. When this point was queried and she was asked who this person was, Karen replied, "No idea at all. All my friends and family have all been checked, and there are no sightings of her things there at all." The Sun, a British newspaper, offered a £20,000 reward for information that led to Shannon's safe return, an amount that would soon become £50,000 on March the 10th. By this time, 250 police officers, along with 60 detectives and 16 specialised victim recovery dogs, were still searching for the young girl. At this stage, they can't not have been gravely worried for Shannon's safety. Despite over 3,000 homes being searched and over 1,500 motorists being stopped and questioned, authorities seemed to be no closer to finding Shannon. That was until March 14th arrived. When a call came in from a downstairs neighbour of a flat in Batley Car, stating they had heard children's footsteps coming from the flat above them, where no children lived, police leapt at this opportunity to search the home. The flat was located just a mile away from Shannon's home. It was owned by 39-year-old man Michael Donovan, who happened to be Craig Meehan's uncle. After police bashed their way into the flat, they were greeted by an eerie silence. Then a little voice called out, "Stop it, you're frightening me." It was 9-year-old Shannon Matthews. Much to everyone's shock, she was alive and had been found hidden inside a bed base. Michael Donovan was inside the home and placed under arrest on scene. He was soon charged with kidnapping and false imprisonment. While being escorted out of the house, he made a rather interesting statement. "Get Karen down here. We're sharing the money. £50,000. Authorities were immediately suspicious about the whole situation, and Shannon was placed under an emergency police protection order while they tried to piece this bizarre story together. The real shock came when, a few weeks later, Karen Matthews was charged with child neglect and perverting the course of justice. This is when the truth finally came out. Karen had not been a grieving mother, desperate for her daughter to be returned home. Instead, she had been the mastermind behind a truly sick plan to fake her daughter's kidnapping in order to collect the reward money for her safe return. Michael Donovan was supposed to eventually find Shannon and turn her in at the police station, where they would happily skip away with £25,000 each. When Karen was arrested and questioned, she would give interrogators 5 versions of events. She initially tried to blame Michael, but that quickly fell flat when it was established that he had an incredibly low IQ. After standing trial, Michael and Karen were both found guilty of kidnapping, false imprisonment, and perverting the course of justice on December 4th, 2008. They were each handed an 8-year sentence. Following the crime, Shannon was given a new identity and moved in with a new family with the help of social services. Unsurprisingly, Shannon was severely traumatized by the ordeal. During those 24 days, she had been drugged and kept inside a space that was as small as 12 by 6 inches. It turned out that Karen had been drugging her daughter for up to 2 years prior to the kidnapping. Shannon suffered from frequent nightmares of what she had endured and attended individual psychotherapy sessions to assist in her recovery. Karen Matthews and Michael Donovan are now freely out in the world, while Shannon will forever have to live with what they did to her. Hopefully, she has been able to heal from the experience and live life to the fullest with only positive people surrounding her.